All right, here we are. We're off and running. In case you didn't notice, we have a special guest.
A special guest. Hi, everyone.
Yes.
What do you call the audience? Kaziers or
I
something?
just so the common theme is
Kaziites?
no, not Kaziites. I just refer to them as chat, like they're chat. They are
No,
the
that's not
chat.
very personable.
What do you want it to be?
Kazians? Kazi Knights?
How do you spell that? So Bob was trying to find the stream today.
You're going to tell that.
Yeah, I'm going to tell that. Bob was trying to find the stream, and he's been giving me a hard time about the name of my company pretty much since I suggested it the first time. Right? So we've got that going on. So every time he talks to me, he's like, hey, how's Quasimodo doing? You having any luck with Swazi? I don't remember what it is. He just keeps making up more and more ridiculous names. So today he goes to try and find my website, Kazi.
And I couldn't spell
He
it.
couldn't spell it. It's 4 letters. It's 4 letters. So yeah. So that's how today started. It's been a good morning so far. Bob's
Jamie,
fired up.
Jamie, it's Santa? What the hell is that? What is it?
What?
What?
It is Santa.
I'm Santa?
I'm pretty sure that's what Jamie's saying. He does kind of look at that, like that.
I could be
Jolly
Santa.
laugh.
I could be Santa Claus.
You should grow the beard out.
I could do that.
You could.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you should.
Maybe I'll ho ho ho. Ho ho ho. That's pretty sick,
terrible.
isn't it?
Oh gosh.
Bring your
Yes.
everyone on the stream. Bring your children to me.
No, don't. I won't even bring my children to him. Oh my gosh, what have we done already?
I know.
Gosh. Okay, cool. So welcome everyone. There you go. Look at that. A Christmas gift for Josh's Agile. That's what we're here to do. Maybe we should.
No,
maybe
don't
that
take
should
it
be
back,
our theme.
Jamie.
Yeah, no, don't.
I embrace my inner Santa.
Don't be nice to Bob.
No.
Like I've learned over
No.
a decade.
Give
As
me a
soon
hard
as you're
time.
nice, then it's like that. It's like one of those animals that's like cute and cuddly, and then they get close to you and they bite your face off. Like, that's Bob. That's Bob.
What the hell was that? They
know.
bite your face off?
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to bite
Yeah.
your face off today.
Okay. Great.
So is there hey everyone, is there a question? What do we got? Any questions? How high performing teams?
High performing team. So, Josh is saying for Christmas Santa on the top of his list is
Yeah.
to make his teams high performing. So maybe Santa Bob can help. Maybe can offer some ideas, some thoughts.
So I'm coming off of Josh and I were talking about it, is I'm coming off of a certified agile leadership class in Dallas. I was in Dallas Monday through Wednesday, and it's directed towards leaders, and it's any level of leaders. So Scrum Masters, project managers, managers, directors, VPs. I don't care. So what does leadership look like? And I spent a lot of time, Josh, talking about creating space for high performance. And you and I've talked to us about this on the Metacast. So if there's an entry strategy, to me, it's less is more. So do less, step back, like strongly step back, and give the team space, and allow them to perform. Like challenge them with vision. Like tell stories of how would you envision high performance. So set the tone for mission, vision, like the end state. As a leader, what would blow your socks off? But then step back and let them figure that out. So that's how I'd like to tee it up.
Sounds good.
So I don't think you make high performance teams. I think you create the space for high performance teams. This is going to sound very zen-like, but I think but I mean it. You create the space for teams to emerge and become high performance. What do you think?
I agree completely. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I'm helping some folks, and there's a couple folks in roles that are evolving, and they're evolving into leadership roles, and they're at that uncomfortable place where they know their success is defined by this other group of people, and
Yep.
they can't make them do it.
Yep.
So they've got to wrestle with that very difficult thing of how do I enable these people to be successful, and that in turn determines my success in this role. So it's that scary, uncomfortable, I've got a problem situation going on. Uh-oh, we got a problem.
What's wrong?
Some sound.
Oh, Josh is agile. I disagree. You need to cram it.
He's giving you a wink.
Oh, I actually like the cram. That's Josh. You had me at cram.
Yeah, he was sold. You never should have put the winky face in there.
Yeah,
Like,
cram it.
All right, so we've got some audio questions out there for some folks. Fire Sue's having some trouble. Anybody else having issues? Seems like we're going okay with some people. Let me know if you figure it out. If anybody has a trick. Okay, so interesting question. Josh's Agile is helping organize the first Agile conference in Burlington, Vermont in 2020. Holy cow.
Oh, that is...
You are planning ahead.
Any
Any tips for making a conference awesome? Well, I think you're looking at it right here. I think you bring these two in here to headline.
Headliners.
And you just put a poster up.
Josh, that was so lame. Come on. What was that?
What?
You're selling us too strong.
Oh, okay.
Come on. That's way you're cramming it.
How is this what Josh wanted?
You're cramming us into the conference.
So
that's an interesting. Let's pursue that question.
Especially because you've been a conference chair,
yeah.
right? So you've been in that seat, and I know you did some really interesting things. You had a different approach that you were trying to take to introduce diversity and bring new speakers and all those things that I thought was really cool and novel, because I remember one of the first conferences I went to and I spoke. I got to speak. It was my first time. I was super excited and I was there, and I felt bad, but I said to Bob, I'm like, Bob, I'm the youngest person here, and it's not close. Like, there's like speakers in walkers, and I'm like,
stop.
Like, can we get some fresh blood here? Like, what's going on? You know? But and you got mad at me.
What the hell's wrong with a walker?
It's just like,
what? So we're a little bit physically challenged, and then you put us out to pasture.
See, this is exactly what happened, right? I just threw a question and a comment out there, and he got all fired up at me. But it was one of those things that, and you responded, right? Like, hey, now I'm in charge. Let's get some fresh blood. Let's get some new speakers.
Yeah.
Let's get diversity. Because we actually were in a session one time, and there was some feedback about diversity of the panel. And there was a young woman who's like, why are there only old white dudes up there? You know, it was me and my peer.
I'll never forget that.
Right, and that
comment.
was one of those things like, oh man, maybe we do need to try and change something. So Bob got an opportunity to change that, and you started to make some real differences, and you got some new speakers in.
So, I mean, I'll try to provide a little bit. We can collaborate on it. I think the first one, though, I don't know if I would go all bore for diversity with the first one. I'm not saying no diversity.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the first one, you're setting a tone, so you're trying to build momentum. So the first thing you want to do, Josh, is sort of set, is it a 1-day event or a 2-day? So the structure of it sort of dictates, you know, speakers and flow and experiments. So if it's a 1-day conference, then sort of decide the outline. This sounds like a planning step, and it is. How many tracks? What is your conference theme? So structure, theme. What are you trying to? What does the area need? Multiple tracks. How many if you're going to do keynotes, are you going to do a morning keynote, an afternoon keynote, or a closing keynote? So you need 2 keynotes. So sort of lay it out and get a feeling for the mission and vision of it. I think that would be step 1. Then step 2 is, and a lot of people don't do this very well, they put out a call for presentations, but I think you might want to cherry pick speakers and reach out to some speakers. And now I'm not
for the first one.
Yeah, for the first one, speakers matter. Name speakers matter. I think name speakers make a difference. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you have this format and it's 50-50, you might want to have 50% invited speakers, which would include the keynotes, and 50% open speakers from the area. And what you're trying to do is sort of generate buzz. I think and sort of that mix would generate some buzz. Get a name, and we could do a Metacast. You and I've done keynotes and things like that. I'm not selling us, but get someone to really help generate the buzz for the first one. Now that may be your recipe going forward. And I'd stay traditional. I don't know if I'd experiment with panels and fish bowls. You could in the first one. I almost might go old school and just have tracks and things a little bit for the first one, and then see how, because you're building momentum. You're creating a name. Attendees always increase over time. Agile Denver, for example, at one point they had 500, now they have over 1,000. So over the years, at one point they were 1 day, then they've gone to 2 days.
But it's no similar. Did I just say no similar? It's no different than us with our podcast and me with the stream. The first one, the first one, it was me staring at the camera like this, talking. And like after 20 minutes, I just felt silly. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to turn it off. And then we got a couple more viewers, and now we've got 13, right? We had somebody last time that subscribed with Twitch Prime. That knocked me out of my freaking chair. Right?
Yeah.
That was fantastic. That was like, holy cow, I never thought that would happen. That's awesome. The first podcast, you and I joked for the first year that it was me, you,
and
your
my
wife,
and my mother,
and my mom that would listen. And my mom would listen for like 5 seconds just to tell me that she listened, because she felt like she should, because she was my mom. But then now we get thousands of listens every month. And people are saying, hey, where's your episode? Like, what's the holdup? What's happening? People stop us at conferences and thank us and tell us they listened to all 130 plus episodes, and I apologize to them for that.
So it's momentum. It's generate that.
Now, I do want to disagree with Bob a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
With what? What did I say?
I think the concept of going old school, I might try and separate yourself. Do something different. Present yourself as the Agile Conference reimagined. Do something that would set you apart that might be different than TechWell or something like that. That's just different. Like, hey, we're new, we're different, we're edgy. I don't know if that's too much or that pushes people away, but that's something you could try. And I think it would make sense to have a group of people doing it. I think, Josh, if you're on your own, I think that's going to be hard.
I guess what I'm not opposed to experimentation. It's, to me, do it from a position of a base, establishing a base. What if the edginess doesn't work the first year? So what I'm suggesting is, when I say old school, it's things that work. We went to when we went to Agile Cincy and we went to Agile Columbus, and they were roughly the same. They looked sort of the same,
right?
And they attracted people. So maybe stay with that recipe. Experiment a little, but stay with a tried and true. If someone says, "Oh, it's an Agile conference," they're going to know what it looks like before you get too edgy. Now, Josh said something about doing an open space on day 2, like having a 2-day event. That's a cool idea, Josh, I think, to do an open space. I would recommend getting a facilitator, like spending a little money or going and finding, not just someone who says it, but finding a really, really good open space facilitator who's done large open spaces to really help you with that. So if you've done that, that's fine. Or if you know someone in the area, then that's fine. But don't. I think the open space could be outstanding, but the facilitator is a key thing. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is, so thinking about planning, a lot of speakers plan far out, and this isn't a waterfall comment, but if you're going to invite people, invite them early. So you actually might start inviting people like depending on where in 2020 you're going to do it. You might actually want to start reaching out to a few key people now to get it on their calendar. So pick a date. So date, venue, format, then start lining up some speakers, and then do your marketing. You want a sort of runway with your marketing would be some things to focus on.
So as somebody that's been behind that door and building a conference, picking speakers, picking topics, did you start to see a ratio of number of submitted talks to accepted talks? So like for every track talk you had, there were 50 people that submitted or something like that. Was it consistent, or was it kind of all over the place?
See, I think with local conferences, what he's going to find is, especially if it's a new conference, you're not going to, that's the other reason I'm saying invite people. Almost have and you may want to set up an honorarium for them or comp them for their travel or something. and ask them to do a couple presentations if you want. But we did this with Tisca here locally. We had some invited people, and then we opened it up to the area. One of the reasons we did that, we didn't advertise it, is we didn't get a lot of submissions because people were afraid to speak. Josh,
Yeah.
they're I mean, you don't get now when we've done TechWeld. That's a national audience, so we would get, you know, for the TechWell conference that we just had, we had maybe 350 submissions, and there's even international folks there.
Right.
But I think for local stuff, you don't get a lot of submissions sometimes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's going to be and again, it's the momentum. You're not just building momentum for the conference. You have to build momentum for people feeling comfortable enough to know that they could submit a talk for that.
Yeah.
And feel safe in doing a presentation there.
So it might be interesting, Josh, and this is the last thing we'll do before we get to some of the other questions that are out there, is start talking about it now. Start building knowledge in your community about it, because those people that might not speak, maybe if you can get them thinking about speaking 2 years from now, that might be enough time for them to get over the hump and get comfortable, or maybe it gives them enough time to build that deck that they're comfortable talking to, or maybe they can give it at a smaller place and they're comfortable. They can go guest speak somewhere and do that, and then they have that confidence. So if you start to advertise it now and get it out in the community, that might help people there. The other thing is just a recommendation I've been giving repeatedly of late is the Agile community, and Bob and I were talking about it this morning. The Agile community is so willing to help that I bet if you reached out to the people with the local conferences, like the one in Columbus that we did.
Oh yeah, it's a good idea.
Agile Cincy and Agile Denver.
Yeah.
Reach out to the people that are running and started those, and you'll be amazed at how helpful they are with you, because they figured some stuff out and they're going to want to help you because somebody likely helped them. So I would not hesitate to reach out to whoever started those, because they've all been fantastic. The people that I've worked with, I know you've worked with a few more, but they're always.
So Josh, if you want to reach out to me, I can serve as a connector for you to people in the community. I've done some of this, and I can help you as a connector, and even tools like conference, like registration sites and stuff. So I'm not going to partner with you directly, but if I can give you some information. So just send me email and we can collaborate around it. You have enough runway that we can collaborate around it, and I can connect them to some other conferences. You're right. That's it's like share lessons. One final point, and this is going to sound odd. I want to see how you react. I don't know if I would have a really big committee.
Okay.
I don't know if I would, for the first one, I don't know if I would recommend having to be super, I know this sounds lame, but to be super agile.
It's Bob.
I might say it's yourself. Let's say you're spearheading it, Josh. I might get 2 other volunteer partners or 3 and just decide, rather than having a volunteer group of 20.
Oh yeah.
Or 25.
I just was telling him not to go on his own. If
Yeah.
you try and tackle it on your own.
But when he starts doing the local volunteer group that's going to spearhead it locally, I might keep that initial conference committee team quite small.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool. All right. So Josh, hopefully that helped. Wish you luck. As we said, reach out to people to help. We'll be happy to help in whatever way we can. So this forum, you have. The cool thing you have is that as you get ideas, bring it here, bring it to this group. You've got potential customers here. You have people that represent the customers that you're trying to reach. So as things come up, share it with us, and we'll be happy to help out there. Okay, so Scrum Sarge, he's got a question to pose for the session.
Cool.
How do you help a servant leader recover from becoming a servant?
What does that mean?
I'm not completely sure.
Becoming a doormat? Sarge, are you saying we went so servant focused that we became a doormat? Is that what he's implying? I'm thinking that might be what he's implying.
Yeah, so while Sarge is doing that, I'm going to do my plug, my promo. If you're new to the stream and you haven't already, hit that follow button up above you. It looks like a heart. Bob, have you hit that button on your thing? Are you following? Hit the heart. Nope, above. Oh my gosh.
Where is it?
You see the heart? So look.
Where the hell?
Above my hat.
Oh, there.
There we go. Hey, Bob's in. We got Bob. So you can follow the stream. That will alert you when we go live. That gives you updates and alerts. Also, now, because we have 50 plus followers, you can subscribe. If you have Twitch Prime, you can connect it to your Twitch account and you can subscribe for free. So you can support the stream for free, which is fantastic.
So you can get like externally twitched?
You've been holding that joke for a few seconds now.
Yeah.
I saw it on your face.
You saw it in my eyes.
You were ready to pounce.
Yeah.
So Panther Bane was our first subscriber on Tuesday, and that was exciting and fantastic.
So Scrum Sarge answered.
Yeah. So if you do have Twitch Prime, connect it to or if you do have Amazon Prime, you can connect it to Twitch. Hit the subscribe button. It's completely free. That helps support the stream. So thank you for doing that. So Scrum Sarge is back. They want to help so much that they've become too scared to lead change. That's a good one. So
Oh man, Sarge, this is a tough. I get it. That's what I thought it was. I don't know if there's a silver bullet because I don't think there's like a light switch where you can, like they were leading and then they turned it off, so now they're not leading, and I don't think you can turn it on. I do think. One weird idea. So one, I would coach that person. So Sarge, if you know who that is, I would say one step would be to have a hard. So they're probably not self-aware that they've lost their leadership balance, or they might be. So as a peer, or as close, or I would ask a peer. A peer should be in their first team should be taking them aside, and maybe giving them this feedback that they've lost their balance. I wouldn't use terms like you were leading and now you're not leading. I would use terms like, sort of in the balance, you've lost your balance, you've lost your tenor, you've lost your sort of your leadership mojo, and then challenge them that their team needs it, and maybe even try to ascertain in that coaching discussion with them whether you're their coach or not. This is more peer-to-peer help. Yeah. Maybe even try to find out why. Now, there may be a reason. There may be like a personal reason. Let's say they're having personal troubles at home or something like that. That may be why they backed out, because leadership is so intense. So I might have an encouraging conversation, an exploring conversation, and maybe a root cause, and then try to inspire them to come back. Now, once they started re-energizing, I think they have to re-enter themselves to their team. That's another weird idea. And I might, in a retro or something, get the team together. Like I don't know if I would just start. I might. So a Bob Galen move, and I'm not putting this out there for anyone to do it, but what I would do if I was in this situation is I would re-engage myself with my team. So I might call a meeting or use a retro, and I might apologize to the team. I might literally start out and say, hey, guys and gals, I apologize. I've lost my leadership mojo. I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but for the last 3 months, I haven't been myself.
Right.
I've gotten some coaching and I've been reflective, and darn it, you know what? I really need to change that, and I need your help. And what you're going to see is I'm going to start endeavoring to lead. I mean, I am a leader. I have a leadership role. You need me. There's a role in leadership. I know what it is. You know what it is, and help me to start switching it, and expect my behavior is going to change. So I'm going to start, maybe providing some guidance to you all.
Yeah.
So don't be offended by that. Don't think that I'm being prescriptive. I'll take feedback back, but I might re-engage myself with the team.
Right. So I've seen this pattern of behavior, and it happened for some of the folks that reported to me because I was trying to lead such a servant leadership organization, and they hadn't been servant leaders before. So they over-rotated. They said, okay, Josh wants me to be a servant leader, so they go too far, right? Again, they have the best intentions, but unfortunately they rotate too far. And the thing that I use to bring them back, and then I try and get them to think about, is I hired you for a reason. You have specific, fantastic experience that we don't want to just put on a shelf, right? I didn't hire you with your 20 years of experience and want you to just
right.
pretend that adds no value, right? You've done some amazing, exciting things. Use that to enable your team, to enable everyone that's there sitting with you, right? If you don't, then why did I hire you? Why don't I just hire somebody else that doesn't have your experience? But I brought you, I was excited, the team was excited. Oh, this person's done this 25 times. They've done this thing we've never done. The thing I keep saying to them is don't put it on the shelf, right? Don't let it gather dust, use it, enable the team. The team wants help, they want support, and if you're not providing that, then you're not really leading.
Well, there was that note earlier talking about we were sort of joking about high performance and cramming and stuff. I am absolutely convinced that a high performance team needs that leadership. It's that balance. So it's that combination of the team taking accountability, but the leader sort of meshing with them, and the leadership providing that impetus, that vision, that caring, that support, but also that kicking them in the butt every once in a while when it's appropriate. That's the wrong way to say it, but really calling the team out when they get lackadaisical, or calling the team out when they're not even, they're not behaving as a team. That coaching mindset, right? You've seen that on the sports side. So that's how you create. That's why I'm fighting for it. It's not about that servant leader being a doormat. It's what happens is that team is going to be less powerful or less sort of, less productive, and just less than they could be.
Yeah. It's that, again, oftentimes leaders are coming from an environment where they weren't asked to lead like that. So they're venturing off in a new direction. They're trying to do something that's different, and it's your responsibility as a leader to guide them as well, right? So not only are they trying to guide their teams, but you're trying to guide your team of leaders. And it's hard to make that transition. Becoming a good, agile servant leader isn't a simple thing. If it was simple, everybody would do it.
Right.
And you've got to find that difficult, delicate balance, and that's where folks, unintending to, will make those mistakes, and it's your responsibility to help them along the way. Just like the team's looking for help. Everybody's looking for help. Nobody wants to go this alone. So, hey, Cross457, thank you for the subscription. Thank you for supporting the stream. Happy to have you here again. So that is fantastic.
There's a follow-up by Agile Ideation.
Yeah.
Did you read that?
I am reading it now. Have you read it? So you can talk and then I'll catch up.
So I mean, I think it's multiple. So I think I understand I have the same issue. I'm trying so hard to be a change agent and leader, but not in a position of power. So I pick up all sorts of work. It's not even a doormat. I think you're making that decision of, is it leadership by doing, or is it leadership by sometimes not doing? Sometimes it's you almost want to create this space for the team. So I'm not anti-doing. I'm pro. If you have multiple roles, grab one. So Agile Ideation, you're saying I'm the Scrum Master, I'm a bottle washer, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. I'd say grab the Scrum Master, make it your own. Don't do work there. Talk to the team. I do all of these other things, but I'm hanging my hat on Scrum Mastery, and I might pick that one, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to focus on team accountability, team ownership, team empowerment, team collaboration, all of these things, team goal setting, team delivery, team getting to know each other, right? Team socialization, etc., and just really make it your own, and then. Agile Ideation says something about my boss doesn't really understand. I mean, that's an impediment to some degree, but I don't know if they have to, they're not going to follow you around and give you permission to do everything. So, take that to the side and just grab something and make it your own is what I would say. And don't lose yourself in the multitasking. You're doing no one a service if you're overly multitasking.
Yeah, that was going to be my big point is you're likely coaching the team on work in progress limits. So you likely need to put a work in progress limit on yourself and put all those roles and things you're doing, put them in a backlog and sit down and try and prioritize them appropriately. And if you do that, that will allow you, I bet you'll feel better because you'll start to really knock things out. You'll feel better. But then what I would do is take all those things that aren't getting done and sit down with the team and say, okay, so I've started trying to focus on these things, and that's helped us be more successful. But if we can't get to these 5 other things, we're going to continue to struggle. So how can we work together? Who can help with some of this? Who can pick up a piece here and there? So I would use something like that. Prioritize the work for yourself, just as a product owner you should be doing for your team. I just continue to tell people to think of everything as a backlog. So think of everything you need to do as a backlog. Be your own PO. Be your own Scrum Master. List it out, and then the technical debt stuff that's falling out of the bottom that you never get to, put it on the table and say, how can we get to these things? We know we need to get these things, and I can't. I've tried, and when I tried, I was unhappy and I was frustrated. Everything that went along with that, just it's a bad place. But we still need to figure this out, and then we can figure it out together.
Can I poke at something Scrum Sarge said?
Yeah.
He said, yes, doormat, they want to help so much that they become too scared to lead change, or the team doesn't view them as a leader and expects them to just do what the team wants them to do. I'm triggering on a behavior thing. So there's another aspect of leadership to me is you look inside yourself and you model the behavior that you want and you just do it. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have a leader on my lapel. I don't have a leadership hat. It's not my title. It's not Scrum Master. It's I do the right thing. And then I think teams will gravitate towards that. So for example, I'll give you for example. The team is struggling. Mm-hmm. The boss, Agile Ideation was talking about maybe the boss doesn't understand. Well, I'm going to make it even worse than that. The boss comes in and interrupts the team.
Right.
So Agile Ideation or whoever, someone steps up to the boss. It's not their job, but they have a concrete discussion with the boss and mm-hmm. say in a polite but firm way, respectful way, say back off.
Right.
Right. You're interrupting the team. We're losing our velocity. This is it's really not helping the business. It's not helping you, and it's certainly not helping the team. And I'm here to tell you that you have to back off and use me as your liaison. If you want to drop shit into the team, come to me, right? Come to me, and I will handle that. So independent of titles, right. I've exhibited leadership. I've walked my talk. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to exhibit. That was a bad example, maybe, but I'm exhibiting. I'm exhibiting agile principles. And I think the team will respond to that. I think that's so. It's not what we do. So it's like how we conduct ourselves.
Right.
I think there's a behavior, modeling leadership behavior, being a leader. Then the team would gravitate towards that leader. What do you react to that?
I always am a big fan of you've got to walk the walk, right? You've got to do those things, the difficult things. You've got to have those hard discussions. And if you don't do that, then how can you expect your team to do that same thing? So I think you've got to – I'm always a lead by example guy because I know there's all these eyeballs that are watching me. And as soon as I show them that I'm going to back off because it's uncomfortable, then they're going to back off because it's uncomfortable to pair or to have that super low work in progress limit. We're talking a lot about whips, right? Yep. So a super low whip. Like – you didn't do the uncomfortable thing, so why should I do the uncomfortable thing? Then you lose your credibility as a change agent because you're not showing your willingness to change yourself. So it's things like that where you have to continually exhibit those behaviors, and you'll be amazed at how people end up falling in, not falling in line, but they're like, okay, I get it. I'm going to be a part of that.
What?
So what you can't see, I can see Bob's screen. Bob is searching on YouTube for Whip It Good by Devo. For those of you that are old enough, you may remember that song. It sounds like you're going to hear the song here in a minute after the commercial finishes.
What?
Yeah. All right. Here we go. I don't even know how to continue. Are you going to sing? Are you going to dance?
Crack that whip. I just wanted that. That's all. I'm happy now.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, everyone.
So that's a peek into the underpinnings of the Metacast. For 10 years, just things like this happen.
What you said, whip limit.
I did say
and I
whip
thought
limit.
Of Devo and Crack That Whip.
So Devo,
Whip It Good.
Devo's from my hometown, if you can believe that.
They are not from your hometown,
they
really?
Are, yeah.
I didn't know that.
They are.
That's trivia.
It is trivia.
They wore like flower pots or something. You know that?
I don't know what those are on their head, but yeah, that is them. So okay, so cool. So
Bring us back.
It's hard to bring us back after Devo and Whip It. So questions. I end up losing my screen of all the questions. So can you queue up the next question? Because I screwed some things up.
Well, there was Scrum Sergeant said, I encourage all teams to implement whip limits, even if only in some aspects. It's how they create a pull system rather than a push system. And then Brave Dave was asking about whip for Scrum teams. I mean, I would expand it, and now all Devo aside, I think we should all have whip limits. So the Scrum team, the Kanban team, the XP team, us personally, like everyone who's listening, be careful that we're not biting off more than we can chew. Had that mindset of a few things in progress and getting them done. I mean, bring that. I bite off. I do a lot of writing, and sometimes when I'm writing too much and not focusing, I make lots of mistakes. I've actually written. I think I'm writing one article, so I have like 5 articles in progress.
You're having trouble with the context switch.
And I start. I think I'm in article 1, and I'm writing in article 3, and then I go back later on, and I'm like, holy crap! I just messed this up, and I have to clean it up. I have to debug it, and it takes me longer time. So whip limit reduction, I think we all need to be cognizant of that. Small sort of batches and get things. And the other thing is I've even seen in some of the questions, it's like, if I'm a doormat leader, okay, I need to change things. Well, how many things are you going to try to bite off to change?
Right.
Like I might just say, start with your behavior in front, with the team. Look for opportunities to really help the team. So lead indirectly in front of the team, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right. Don't read any books. You don't necessarily have to get overwhelmed with 15 things that you're trying to do in parallel.
Yeah, and so, for instance, my good buddy Eric Hannon, who's here on the streams at various times, he's constantly getting on me about my personal whip limit. I've got 3 companies that I'm working on right now at the same time, and almost every day he checks in with me. He's like, hey, what's going on? What's happening? And my most common response is like busy, just plain busy. And then I always follow up with like, yeah, I know, I do it to myself. And he's like, how about that whip limit we keep talking about? So again, the thing that I've found that adds value to me is Scrum and Agile is about enabling you to do the most important work and get it all the way to done. That's not specific to software, right? You can apply it to everything you do, to every part of your life, and that's something that I've been trying to do more. I'm certainly not perfect at it, right? I'm so focused on everybody else and getting them to do the things like, well, you hired me to come in and do this. I'm going to do this job that so often I don't do the same things to myself, right? Like I don't pay it back to myself.
That's what I'm saying. That's
why I'm so focused on them winning and succeeding that in reality they struggle because I'm not as effective as I should be because I'm so focused on them instead of me. So that's that thing that we can all get better at, and especially as coaches, because coaches inherently work that way where we're so focused on helping others be successful that we often don't think of ourselves. We put ourselves last, which is the selfless thing to do, right? That's what coaches do. But in reality, you've got to pay attention to yourself because otherwise bad things happen.
And I think it's starting from the inside out. So I agree with everything we're saying, but so I can be telling a team whip limit, or I can be applying my own personal whip limit, and they can observe that Bob gets stuff done, and they could even ask me. So there's telling or presenting an article or a podcast, or there's just modeling. So it's the behavior and modeling side of leadership, of showing. Let's not discount that. Right. I mean, I actually think that counts a lot. In the Cal class that I was just running, I'm learning and I'm not perfect with it, but I try to model listening. I try to model vulnerability. I try to let people laugh at me or not constantly, but I try to show vulnerability that I can take hard feedback. I'm trying to model for 2.5 days. I'm teaching topics, et cetera, but I'm also trying to show them that I live. This is how I'm trying to live.
Right.
And I want them to learn as much from the class, like the slides and the exercises. I want them to learn as much from how do I conduct myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think both sides of that matter. and I've learned that from other instructors. Not every instructor is good at it. Michael Sahota is really good at that. His Cal class is all. I mean, he probably the content of his class, the predominant content, or the value is his behavior. He's trying to. Now, not everyone gets that, but I think it's part of it. So that.
But it shows. It's that again. I keep coming back to it. It's the walking the walk thing.
Yeah.
You know, where you're continually modeling the behavior, because it's one thing to hear and somebody talk about the behavior, but it's another thing to actually see it. You know, so I can read a book, I can do all these things and try and figure out what I should be doing. But if I have the opportunity to observe, like Fire Sue said, however many chats ago, about the difference about seeing it in person, right? Being at that Cal class with Bob,
Right.
and having that in-person interaction makes a difference.
Yeah.
In Scrum, we talk about
Right.
the difference in the value of conversations in the face-to-face versus chat versus email versus phone, right? The same thing applies. When you see it with your own two eyes and you can process it and think about it and then model that, then you're going to be more successful.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking, right? So Whipple, agile characteristics, model as much of them as you can, and then personally, and then to your point, I mean, it's literally, it's sort of building on each other. There's a question here. Where did I saw it?
You can scroll up if you need to,
Um,
because I dropped out of the chat and it wiped out all my messages. So if anybody asked a question and we missed it, re-ask it, because I screwed something up on my end. So we're sorry
so
for that.
agile ideation
That was
had
my
this.
fault.
I'm gonna just repeat the end of a point he or she made, and it says, "But I worry that I'm doing a good enough job that they don't feel pain or pressure to be more timely in making the change." I actually think we meaning anyone, there's a fine line between being a good team player and pitching in and helping out in a situation. Maybe I'll tell a story real quick. At Agile Velocity Partners, we were doing nearshore development. We had a Scrum team, and the Scrum team was working. It was an offshore, nearshore Scrum team, and the client had a product owner, and the product owner was in Seattle, and time zones difference between Colombia, I think, and Argentina, and them, and the team for 2 years. And the product owner never had the time, was always multitasking. And so the team started working around and doing the product owner's job for them and writing the stories, etc. And from a sprint demo review point of view, actually the client was pretty happy. The team was not only building stuff, but the team was and the team was working overtime to do the product owner's job, because they had to talk to people
Right.
in different time zones. They had to write all these stories. They had to verify streams and things like that. We had a site client manager who escalated it to the client and said, "We have a product owner problem. They're not doing their job," in a polite, sensitive way, but it really was a problem. It was affecting the morale of the team offshore.
Right.
They were getting burned out to doing their job. Plus, it's the client, for God's sakes.
Right, yeah.
How can they are not the client, right? The client, we need the client to step up. But nothing happened, and our site manager, escalated a few times, and she asked me, she was like, "Well, what do I do next? They're not taking action." And my advice was, and it's sort of asinine advice, I said, "You know what? You may be masking the problem so that it's not painful enough that leadership team at the client is not taking action."
Right.
Because the team is kicking ass. Now the team is burning itself out. And they'd already lost a few people, right? So they were pissing and this was it. They hired great teams. So I actually, agile ideation, back to the point, I think you can. I don't know always is it the right strategy to cover for everything. I think sometimes letting something boil over and let it explode in the organization's face and force them to take action and to be accountable
Right.
is a good action. And so you say, I actually think you may be covering up, and I know your heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
And let people. So that's part of transparency.
Right.
is letting it happen. What do you think about that? She didn't like my answer.
Yeah.
She did not like let it fail. So
Well,
so in a nutshell, it said let it fail. And I'm not saying sabotage, and I'm not saying be a bad corporate citizen or a bad client.
But I think the trap people fall into is by being that short-term good corporate citizen, you're actually setting yourself for long-term failure.
That's what I think.
So think about that long game, and you've got that sense that, hey, maybe I'm doing the right thing. So you're already starting to feel it, right? You're here, you're asking the question, you're trying to figure out what's the right thing. I feel like you're starting to understand maybe this isn't the right thing. And that work in progress thing, what the work in progress will do is it will start to shine a light on the problems that your organization has, right? This isn't an agile ideation problem. This is an organization problem. It sounds like maybe they need to invest in some different roles to support you. And I am hopeful that you can go to your boss and be like, Mr. or Mrs. Boss, I'm just like terribly burnt out. I'm not sure how much longer I can do this because I'm doing 3 different roles. Like, how do we help? Like, I've prioritized the things that I think I can do exceptionally well. And it's these N number of things. And other than that, it's already falling off the plate, but I'm scrambling to balance all of these things.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? So that's where I think you got to put it out there and on the table. And then you'll start to chip away at it. So don't expect it to get better overnight, but start to let the spotlight shine on it.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's part transparency, part courage from a basic, sort of agile principles perspective. The other thing is activate people to do their job.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes patching things. The other thing that struck me when you were talking is we're doing a mediocre, not agile sort of not agile ideation, not you. I'm not talking about you personally, but if I have 3 or 4 jobs, in my experience, I'm doing a mediocre job at all 3 or 4. And that's what I was saying earlier when I was saying pick the Scrum Master and then be the best damn Scrum Master. Mm-hmm. Part of it is exposing the organization to let them fill in the blanks when they have to reinvest. And another part of it is pick one that you really resonate with and then work the heck out of it and just be excellent in that space, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So last 10 or 12 minutes we have here, Brave Dave so we put out a request for topic ideas for our upcoming podcast episode, which we're going to record right after this. And I'm thinking about sometime just recording those live on Twitch. So I'm going to look for some feedback from you guys about whether that would be cool or not. It's a little bit different. It's not as much as a conversation. So we'll just be sitting here listening to Bob and I. So up to you. We can put it out there. But Brave Dave 88 is asking about sprint goals. And I understand it's hard to do more than just like whatever the big epics are, whatever the big stories, just make that happen. So do you have any advice? I've got my thoughts and views about sprint goals and what they are and what they aren't.
I mean, this is going to sound odd, but I don't really care if it's hard. It's like, damn it, when you're doing, so I think they're hard because we look at these discrete little stories and then we say, well, what's the goal for these discrete little stories? And then a lot of times in classes, then people want a bulleted list, which mirrors the stories. I'm like, you're doing goaling too late. What if we were doing release planning, Josh? What if we were doing quarterly release planning with 4 2-week sprints? And I would say, what is our now we're allocating epics and features to 4. We've done this. You and I've done this to 4 2-week sprints. So at the top of each column, before we put any card in it, what is the goal for this one? What's the goal for the next one? What's the goal for this? Then start breaking down goal to features, or goal to epic to features to stories. And what you're doing is you're collecting a theme, a collection, a bucket of stuff.
Right.
And you're trying to knock it out in 2 weeks. Yes, you can have some superfluous stuff in there, some little sand or pebbles, a bug fix or something. But the majority of the stories in there are cohesive.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if you try to have a cohesive goal, if you go to the beach and you try to look at a pile of sand and you try to create a cohesive goal around that, it's almost impossible.
Right.
But I think that's the wrong place. And I'm like, and I just think goals, I mean, folks are probably getting that from my hand waving. I think it's really, really freaking important. I mean, that's how I measure sprint success. Is not velocity or anything. Did the chief bite off? Did the chief sign up to a goal and did they deliver a goal? That's actually fundamentally as a leader. Forget as a coach. That's what I care about.
Right.
What was your goal? Did you? Was it win? Was it demo this thing? Whatever it is, and does it align to the customer? What was your goal? What was your customer centric goal for this sprint?
Yeah.
And did you do it? Did you?
And to me, that's the difference, is the customer centric goal. So a lot of teams, and maybe you're wrestling this as well, Brave Dave, is that do your stories really have clear business value as to what you're doing and why you're doing it? So the thing that Bob taught me many years ago with this and the sprint goals was, what are the first words that a product owner says when they stand up for the sprint review? Like, this is what we sent out to do. They're not going to stand up and say, these are the 6 stories we plan to do, and then list them in bullet lists and then read them off. No, we're trying to provide some unit of functionality to our customer, and that should be describable. If it's not describable, then maybe you're not doing the right things, or maybe they're not packaged well together. So that's the thought process. And what Bob helped us with was that, and I think you made a really great point of, you're doing it too late. If it's, okay, we finished our sprint planning, what's our sprint goal? It should happen first.
Yeah,
it should
exactly.
Be, as a product owner coming into this sprint planning, here's the thing I'm hopeful we can do. Now let's together plan the next 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And see if we can make that
exactly.
happen. So do it first, not last. Better yet, do it way up front. Do it when you're planning and forecasting the sprints. And yes, stuff's going to move. You're not going to nail everything exactly, and maybe that sprint goal is going to move a little bit here or there. That's okay, but go into it with a clear plan. The other thing that I use those sprint goals for is that's a rallying cry. So when something goes wrong during a sprint and we need to make a decision, I call the team back to our sprint goal of, okay, we said we were going to do this. Does this help us get there, or does it not? If it doesn't, next sprint. If it does, okay, then we need to make some adjustments to enable that to happen. So that's the thing. I think the key thing that we're asking you to do is do it way sooner.
And you said product. This is, I mean, the team weighs in, the Scrum Master weighs in.
Yeah.
The product owner should be bringing this to the table.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so agile ideation. It's hard being that change agent, that change leader. So be patient, be comfortable, be tactical. Don't go in just swinging a wild hammer first things first. I just added a stream marker. I'm going to make a clip out of that. Actually, if somebody could make a clip out of that, that would be very good. There's a little, like, one of those clappers down in the right hand corner. If you hover over it, and you can make a clip, and you can publish that clip of Bob dancing to Whip It. So if you don't do it, I'm going to do it later. But yeah, okay. Sorry. So I was trying to help agile ideation here. You know.
I'm sorry. I know I got off track.
Man.
I really like Devo's Whip It. You know that? Have you seen that?
Do you see what I'm wrestling with?
I'm inspired, man.
Oh my gosh.
That may make it into many of my classes now.
Oh, gosh.
What else we got? We have another.
I'm just playing catch up here. Yeah. So Agile Derek, you're right on there. 360 Leader, helpful book. Yep. Wow, yellowed pages. It's that old, Scrum Sarge? Holy cow. All right.
I think we've covered. There was a lot of good discussion.
I think we've got it. All right, I think we're getting there. So, questions. We got about 5 minutes. If you have not, and you do have your Amazon Prime attached to Twitch, and you have Twitch Prime, and you haven't used it for somebody else, hit the subscribe button up top. It's completely free. That helps us out. Things we covered today. So we talked about conferences. that was cool and exciting. You got the inside peek from somebody who's been there. We've talked about work in progress limits a lot. We talked about what happens when you do too much potentially. And again, it's one of those things where everybody's doing things for all the right reasons. So agile ideation, don't beat yourself up, right? You're doing the best you can. You're doing the things you think are right. And oftentimes when you get so focused on that and there's so much to do and you don't have that work in progress limit, it's hard to take that step back and be like, okay, am I really doing all the good I can, or is the good I'm doing actually causing a little bit of negative to happen? So number one, please walk out of this. Please, as you go on with the rest of your day, don't hang your head, right? You're doing the right things. You've got the right thoughts and processes in team first. And so you're doing the right thing. Now it's just time for a little tweak. So you're going in the fantastic direction. Hopefully we're here to help. We're excited to have you. We're excited to have everybody jump in. To me, again, this is something that I value so much, and I know Bob has even done the same, is the community that you guys have built together, right? I'm just a talking head here in front of a camera and a microphone and all that, and you guys are the ones that make this special. So thank you for all of that. Bob, do you have anything, or are there any other questions out there?
No, there's a garbage day. I like a sprint garbage day. So Brave Dave is talking about understanding the rallying cry. We need a sprint garbage day to clean things up. I like that idea. The other thing you missed is leadership. We talked a lot about leadership. Yeah. I think leadership dynamics in this, it's important. I think one thing I'd like everyone to take away is behavior trumps every freaking thing else, right? I was saying that in the cow class. So we can talk, so we talk, and walking your walk, I don't know even if that, it's like, again, I trust you, Josh, but do I exhibit that? Mm-hmm. And it's not even the behavior. Then do people sort of get it? So I can say I trust you, then I can extend trust to you. My behavior says it. And then the most important thing is, do you feel trusted?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's my behavior and the connection to you. So are you reacting to my behavior? And until we get that, we still have work to do on every discrete interaction. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's literally, it's not projecting out. It's, are we collaborating so from a leadership perspective?
But the biggest thing is that as a leader, if you don't exhibit the things you're asking the team to do, your credibility and trust gets chipped away, right? Like we talked about, hey, this guy's asking me to do something very uncomfortable, but I never see him do anything uncomfortable, right? We've got that person on the team that's just dragging, and I've talked to him time and time again, but I never actually see him address the problem. If you go and show you're addressing the problems,
correct,
you'll be amazed at how quickly we'll rally.
That's the thing. Yeah. There's this book, Radical Candor, and the lady who wrote it, she talks about one of the primary mistakes people make is leaders. They're like, oh, great, I'm giving everyone radical candor. The first step of radical candor is actually not giving it, it's receiving it.
Right.
And the first step is, how do you receive it? Do you receive it well? And if you receive it well, now you've showed everyone, right, how to receive it when you give it to them. Right. So the step is not, puking on everyone, right? with I read the book, now I'm going to give everyone in the company a dose of it. No, it's an inside out job, right?
Okay, so as I wrap this up, Bob, can you cue up Whip It to play as we exit out of here, as we close the stream for today? So I will see everybody on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Same place, same time. Look forward to it.
What do you think?
I don't want to turn the stream off now. That was my plan, was to fade to black.
That whip! Break your mama's back. What a song. Bye, everyone.